This morning, 14 dead, dozens injured as a gunman terrorises a university in Prague. The Prime Minister announces a $64 million aid package for flood-ravaged far north Queensland. How new petrol standards are expected to spike fuel prices. And Osman Kaja has his say after the ICC sanctions him for his black armband protest in the Perth Test.
This is 7 News with Robert Ovadia.
Good morning. A gunman has shot dead 14 people and injured another 25 in the Czech capital, Prague. Students and teachers hid and ran for their lives at Charles University in the city's historic centre, and police say the gunman has also been, quote, eliminated. Hugh Whitfield reports.
The shooting began mid-afternoon. The lone gunman made his way to the 4th floor of the arts building at the Charles University, right on the edge of Prague's old city and very close to the famous Charles Bridge. He opened fire on students and staff, made his way out to a balcony and fired on people below in the streets too. Students and staff barricading themselves inside classrooms, turning off the lights to try and hide. People were seen clinging to a ledge after climbing out of a window, hoping to avoid the gunman. He's been described as a 24-year-old student. His father was found dead earlier, and later the gunman was found dead too, although it's unclear whether police killed him or he took his own life. It sparked a massive police response in a city that is popular with tourists from right around the world, particularly at this time of year in the run-up to Christmas. A government minister describing it as an unprecedented, insane act with no clear links to international terror. It's being treated as a domestic incident, considering the shooter's links to his family and the university, potentially inspired by school massacres in other countries. It will go down as the worst mass shooting in modern Czech history.
Anthony Albanese is touring flood-devastated areas of far north Queensland this morning. The Prime Minister is announcing a $64 million package to help businesses and producers. Rachel Baxter reports.
Good morning. Well, the Prime Minister is in Cairns this morning meeting with residents, flood-affected residents here in Cairns. He'll go to the northern beaches, including Holloway's Beach, with Premier Stephen Miles. More than 2,000 damage assessments have been done across the far north now, and it has been confirmed 4 properties have been totally destroyed. 111 are considered severe and 389 have moderate flood damage. The impact of the disaster here in Cairns and across the northern beaches is obvious. The streets are littered with people's belongings ruined by Sunday's flooding event. As roads begin to reopen, evacuated residents are returning to find a mammoth clean-up, and it is all hands on deck. Volunteers from the SES and Rural Fire Service have been in sweeping out the mud and the mess. A mud army hit the ground this week too, with volunteers from across Cairns as well as right around Australia.
At the worst of times, we always see the best of the Australian character. We see people pitching in, whether it be our people in the energy workers, whether it be the volunteers, the SES. In
some good news this morning, emergency services have confirmed that all 35 communities further north, that's up near Woodjul, have now been evacuated to Cooktown. 216 people have been evacuated from up there, and police have confirmed that there are no more missing persons. Authorities still hold grave concerns, though, for an 85-year-old man who has been missing now for 5 days.
Rachel Baxter there. A new plan has been announced for cleaner fuel and cars on our roads. We'll go live now to Josh Martin in Canberra with all the details. Josh, there is a catch, it seems. Petrol will likely cost more.
Good morning to you, Rob. Yes, the federal government estimates petrol prices will rise by 1 cent a litre when these changes come into effect in late 2025. It means new cars, including SUVs and light commercial vehicles, will need to comply with Euro 6D noxious emissions standards. The government will also force petrol stations to sell higher quality unleaded 95 petrol with reduced aromatic hydrocarbons. Energy Minister Chris Bowen says the changes will save lives and take pressure off the health system. A University of Melbourne study found more than 11,000 Australians die prematurely every year from transport emissions. They contribute to things like lung and heart issues.
It's important that we have the cleanest possible fuel standards in Australia, but we also have to balance those with cost of living and the budget that families are experiencing.
In some good news for motorists, Rob, the NRMA is predicting petrol prices will fall around the nation as we head into Christmas. As always, their advice is shop around for the best price.
Thanks, Josh. Josh Martin reporting there in Canberra. Bruce Lerriman's defamation trial has entered its final day at the federal court. We've already heard from Network 10's lawyers, and today closing submissions are being presented by Lerriman's legal team. We'll go live to Paul Kadak at the federal court in Sydney. Paul, what are we hearing this morning?
Good morning, Rob. Bruce Lerriman's lawyer has said this morning that whoever wins this trial, his client, will forever be seen as, quote, the person who raped Brittany Higgins, as he sums up his defamation case, telling the court if Higgins had only been advised to go to the police before she went to the media, there would not have been what he called a virus of madness that spread from politicians to journalists, where the rights of the individual ceased to exist. Calling this trial a case of lies, damned lies and CCTV, arguing there'd been selective use of the security vision taken from the Dock Hotel in Canberra. Playing through it, insisting it shows Lerriman didn't spend the whole night with Higgins and only bought her 2 of 8 drinks. Accusing Brittany Higgins of inventing allegations and fabricating evidence, pointing to the so-called bruise photo as what he says is an example, while admitting Bruce Lerriman did give unsatisfactory evidence, but that his version of events was plausible. He said this was a case that boils down to the evidence of 2 people, quote, 2 relatively young, fairly immature, ambitious, self-confident and to a degree self-absorbed young people. It follows closing submissions yesterday by lawyers for Network 10 and Lisa Wilkinson, arguing Lerriman was, quote, fundamentally dishonest, while describing Higgins as compelling and believable. While Justice Michael Lee also remarked yesterday various parts of each witness's evidence simply can't be accepted. A month after it started, the trial ends today with a verdict on whether or not Bruce Lerriman was defamed by Network 10 and Lisa Wilkinson, expected in the new year. Rob.
Paul Kadak at the federal court. Thank you. Well, Osman Kaja has been warned by the ICC over his black armband protest in the Perth Test against Pakistan. This morning he's spoken about the decision at the MCG. Nick McCallum is there for us. Nick, what did he say?
Well, Rob, it was a very emotional and passionate Osman Kaja at the MCG this morning. He was here to launch Cricket Australia's multicultural action plan. Until recently, he said, cricket was a white sport in Australia. As you mentioned, the ICC overnight has decided to charge and reprimand Kaja for wearing a black armband during the Perth Test. He said he will fight that because he told cricket authorities it was for a personal bereavement. The ICC too will continue to ban him writing human rights slogans on his boots. He says he will also continue to fight that ban. He insists the ICC is being inconsistent. Let's hear what he had to say.
I followed all the regulations, the past precedents. Guys have put stickers on their bats, names on their shoes, done all sorts of things in the past without ICC approval and never been reprimanded. I just feel like it's my responsibility to speak up on this. We live in such a beautiful country. I'm blessed to be able to go to Australia. I can walk outside, I don't have to worry about a thing. My kids can do the same. I just want that for the rest of the world.
While all of this is being sorted out, he will not wear a black armband or any slogans during the Boxing Day Test. But he does feel a moral responsibility, he says, to keep on speaking out at every opportunity about innocent children dying in Gaza. When he was asked, is all this controversy affecting him on field, his response was one word and terse: no. He said the test, of course, starts on Boxing Day on Tuesday. Rob?
Thanks, Nick. Nick McCallum there live at the MCG for us. Well, next in 7 News, the aftermath of Perth's bushfires. Conditions ease, but not for long. And the nation's airports preparing for the annual Christmas exodus. Welcome back. Conditions have eased around Perth this morning after 2 days of devastating fires. 2 families have had their homes burnt to the ground, and firefighters warn more trouble is looming in the days ahead. Here's Lockie Byrne.
Good morning. A chaotic 2 days here in WA. Behind me, one of two properties completely gutted by fire in the suburb of Parkerville, about 30 k's east of Perth. The fire here was fast and fierce. These pictures of houses burning down were just an hour from when the emergency warning was put in place. Firefighters, especially air support, was on top of it quick, and it was largely controlled within just hours. But that was enough time to cause this sort of damage. Families rushed home to get their loved ones and pets. It took 40 crews on the ground and 10 water bombers to get a hold of it. It was one of 5 emergency level fires that burnt across all parts of the state. Thankfully, it's just these 2 houses at this stage that have been destroyed. Hundreds more around the state were saved, flames getting to within metres of doorsteps. This morning, all of those fires have now been downgraded to a watch and act warning level, but the job's not done yet. Temperatures are set to soar above 35 degrees for the next 4 days, and the fires here will remain on high alert.
Another family has been left homeless just days before Christmas after fire ripped through their house in Brisbane's north. Neighbours in Strathpine woke to the sounds of explosions. They tried to hose the property before firefighters could arrive. The inferno destroyed all of the family's belongings, and an investigation will determine how it ignited. Firefighters and dignitaries have joined mourners near Sydney for the funeral of a decorated firefighter killed in the line of duty. Michael Kidd's casket has been taken from Richmond Fire Station to the packed church. The service is underway there now. The father of 2 died after being struck by a falling beam while fighting a house fire last week. A man is in hospital this morning after a stabbing in Sydney's southwest. It happened at Panania. Police arrived to find a 35-year-old man with stab wounds to his face and back. He was treated by paramedics before being taken to hospital in a stable condition. A 36-year-old man has been arrested and police are questioning him. Airports across the country are bracing for huge crowds as tens of thousands jet off for Christmas. The peak holiday period begins today, so both domestic and international terminals are expected to be bustling. Melbourne Airport is expecting 1.6 million passengers over December and January. Travellers are warned to get to the airport early. Hamas says Palestinian groups will not release any more hostages until Israel agrees to end the war in Gaza. The statement comes as talks continue in Egypt to broker a new ceasefire. As Israel's bombardment of Gaza continues, the Hamas-run Health Ministry has marked a grim milestone. It claims more than 20,000 civilians have been killed since the war began. Donald Trump's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has filed for bankruptcy after losing a defamation case against 2 2020 election workers. A federal judge has ordered New York's former mayor pay nearly $150 million immediately. Jacqueline Robson has the story.
In paperwork filed in New York, Rudy Giuliani listed nearly $500 million in debts, including unpaid taxes, big legal fees and $148 million jury audited pay to election workers. The former lawyer for Donald Trump was found to have defamed the 2 Georgia workers when he spread lies that they'd tried to steal the presidential election from Trump, leading to vile racial attacks and abuse. Now he claims he doesn't have the money to pay them. Giuliani has listed his assets between $1 million and $10 million, but legal analysts say going bankrupt won't get him out of paying the women.
I am quite confident when this case gets before a fair tribunal, it'll be reversed so quickly it'll make your head spin, and the absurd number that just came in will help that, actually.
The former New York mayor's financial strain has been mounting, exacerbated by investigations and lawsuits relating to his work to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election. A spokesperson for Giuliani said the bankruptcy filing will give him time to pursue an appeal to the defamation verdict.
Well, next in 7 News, we have sport with Matt Carmichael, including the Sydney Sixers import banned for intimidating an umpire in the Big Bash. And very high praise for a Melbourne Renegade star dubbed Australia's next big thing. That's next.
Good morning. Glenn Maxwell hailed Renegade star Jake Fraser-McGurk as the most talented young batter in the country during his half-century off just 21 balls against the Heat in the Big Bash last night. Fraser McGurk exploded for the Gades, smashing 7 sixes, but Paul Walter sparked a heat fight back, first taking 3 wickets, then he hit 30 off 15, dragging them across the line.
Well, there you go, there's the answer. That is so beautifully struck. Tall Paul goes long.
And nicknamed Tall Paul, the Englishman has settled into his new surroundings.
Yeah, loving it, to be honest. Made me feel really welcome in Brisbane, although probably a bit hot for me, but apart from that, yeah, no, we're settled in really nicely. It's the first time I played here, so it's been amazing to play well and get the win.
The Heat have now won 3 from 3 as the Renegades remain winless. Sydney Sixers star Tom Curran has received a 4-game ban for allegedly intimidating an umpire. It happened during warm-ups for the Sixers' clash with Hobart, with the umpire trying to prevent Curran from running on the pitch.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That is totally and utterly ridiculous.
Curran is also accused of abusing the umpire as he sidestepped past him. The Sixers will appeal the ban, but a hearing won't happen before tonight's match against Adelaide Strikers, which Curran will miss. Australia have a mountain to climb to fight back in their test against India in Mumbai after the opening day's play. After slumping to 8 for 168, the Aussie tail fought hard to scrounge a total of 219. Indian opers Shafali Verma and Smriti Mandana rollicked along with a 90-run stand, but Jess Jonathan gave Australia a glimmer of hope late in the day.
Big appeal, and given.
India resume on day 2 at 1 for 98 off only 19 overs, trailing by 121. Australian rugby's rebuild is underway with the appointment of Peter Horne as a new director of high performance, now for finding someone to coach the Wallabies.
We're open to anyone. Ideally, we want to be having an appointment in certainly Q1 in 24, given the Welsh are here in July.
Peter Horne will oversee all national programs and the alignment of Super Rugby teams. Socceroos coach Graham Arnold named his 26-man squad for next month's Asian Cup in Qatar. Captain Matt Ryan was included despite recent surgery on a broken cheekbone. With 12 goals in 8 games for Melbourne victory, 36-year-old Uruguay-born Bruno Fornaroli returns as an exciting prospect.
The most important thing with the Socceroos is form, and Bruno's done a fantastic job. He's had a fantastic start to the season, and
World Cup goal scorer Matthew Leckie misses out with a hamstring injury. The Socceroos start against India on January 13. Central Coast Mariners climbed back into the A-League top 6 with a comprehensive 3-0 win over the Roar last night. Informed Colombian Angel Torres slotted home a brace as the defending champs continue recovering from their slow start to the season.
For Angel Torres. He seals the deal. Make that 5 goals in 2 games.
And the Mariners are on a 5-game unbeaten run. And Brighton missed a chance to catch the Premier League's top 6 against Crystal Palace this morning. Palace led on the stroke of half-time. The visitors found a late equaliser through a looping Danny Welbeck header.
And into the net! Crystal Palace's resistance is broken at last.
Brighton move up to 8th. My favourite nickname ever in the Big Bash, Rob, Tall Paul.
It's not something I can claim, Matt, unfortunately.
It's good.
Good on you, cheers. Next in 7's Morning News, the national weather forecast. Well, yoga lovers in Paris have been given an added incentive to perfect their downward dogs. A puppy yoga class combines exercises on the mat with 4-legged friends. Sessions include 20 minutes of yoga and 40 minutes of interacting with our best friends. Participants say the sessions make them feel relaxed and happy, and the puppies seem to feel the same way. We'll take a look now at the weather around the country. Troughs will bring showers and storms to the top end and eastern Queensland. Cool southerly winds will bring light showers to parts of New South Wales and also to northern Victoria. We'll go around the capitals now. Showers in Brisbane and 26 degrees, partly cloudy across the southeast with top temperatures of 24 in Sydney, 25 in Canberra, 24 in Melbourne and 19 degrees in Hobart. Mostly sunny in Adelaide and 27 degrees there, partly cloudy in Perth and 32, and a shower or two and a possible storm in Darwin at steamy 35 degrees. That is 7's Morning News this Friday, December 22. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day. Our next major bulletin is at 4 p.m. I'm Robert Ovadia. Have a great day.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7 Plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.